has been talking to me about recovery. You may have seen that's what I shared with you in the email, but he has been speaking about recovery. And in June, I just got back into town, into Dallas, from spending a few months on the West Coast. And God kept saying to me, help her recover. Help her recover. And began to show me women in which he's connected me with that he wanted to bring into a place of recovery, healing, restoration. And I talked about this last month, but if we're honest, we all have some area in which we need recovery. We all have been struggling with something or are currently struggling with something. And God is wanting us to bring that thing to him so that we can be recovered. Sometimes we learn how to live with it, to live in that place. And God is saying, you can release that to me. You can recover. You can fully recover. And you can be made whole. You can be made whole. And that's God's desire for us, is to not to be in pain, whatever that looks like, emotional pain, mental, anxiety, depression, physical pain, pain in your body, pain in your family. God does not desire for us to just learn how to cope with the pain. He actually wants to bring us to a place of full recovery, of full healing, full restoration, full. I want you to fathom that, full. What would your life look like if you were fully recovered from that thing that's causing you some pain, that's causing you suffering, that thing that's causing you to stay up late at night or cry when no one's around? What's that thing? What's that thing? God wants you to give that to him, and God wants to bring you to a place of full recovery. Full. God wants to do surgery on us spiritually. Surgery on our hearts, to uproot the pain, to uproot the bitterness, to uproot what happened. He wants to do surgery on our minds and renew our minds. Maybe the memory will never go away, but the sting of the thing can fade. He wants us to be fully recovered so that he can bring us into the promises that he has in store. He has the promise. He hasn't forgotten you. And this is just recovery season. It's recovery season. And recovery is required before the promise. In order to fully embrace the promise and the harvest, recovery has to happen before that. So what is God wanting you to recover from? What is he calling you to give to him so there can be recovery? And you're going to have to take an honest look in the mirror. You have to have some transparent time with God and sit in his presence and say, God, I give you that too. I give it to you. I've been carrying it for too long. It's too heavy, it hurts, and it's actually hindering me at this point. It's blocking me. There's blockage when we don't recover. There's blockage. And for what God wants to release, if we're getting ready for the overflow, there can't be blockage. When I taught for Restore, and God was talking to me about recovery, and I'll post it. It'll be on my YouTube page. I'm trying to be better about that and getting it up so that if you miss it, you can actually have access to the teaching, because this is a continuation of what God is speaking, right? June, he was like, help her recover, help her recover. I was like, God, that's so many people. Okay, help her recover. And then he kept showing me, actually, there's an area that God wants all of us to recover. There's an area for all of us. That was June. And then in August, I had to get my wisdom teeth removed, kind of spare the moment. And God allowed me having to go through a physical recovery to show me what was some areas that he also wanted to recover me spiritually, emotionally, where he was trying to reset me in my own pace and my own rhythms. Like, will you sit down and rest? You on painkillers, you can't hop on and answer those emails. Like, will you actually take time to recover? Or are you gonna just keep running full speed until you just crash? Right, God was pausing me and teaching me about recovery. And last month, I taught about the stages of recovery, like what's the recovery process? And I was thinking about that from a natural lens, right? Like as we go through recovery, even think about someone with an addiction. What's the stages of recovery? Like first, you have to accurately diagnose the problem. If you're gonna recover, you have to know what's the problem, what's going on. So we gotta diagnose the problem. And then there's some separation and isolation that happens in our time of recovery. Even when in a hospital, you're in a recovery room, everyone can't be in the recovery room with you. There's some isolation that happens when you're in recovery. And I'm not gonna go through these in great detail because I taught about it last month. I'll make sure the teaching is available. Then we have to address the problem, right? We gotta address the problem. So what needs to be removed? What work needs to be done to address the problem? And then we have to follow the prescribed instructions. What instructions is God giving you and directing you to participate in for your own recovery? There's something. What is he asking you to do, to say, if you do this, you shall recover? If you let go of this, you shall recover. What are those specific instructions? What's the prescription he's giving you? And then rest was required. Rest is required on this process and this journey of recovery. We have to rest. Our body needs rest to recover. Our cells are regenerated when we rest. Our mind is renewed when we rest. And not just trying to go to sleep, but actually resting your mind so you're not spinning, your mind's not spinning in circles thinking about this problem over and over again to where it's actually keeping you up and you're never getting into any sweet sleep. Like, how can we come into a place of rest in our mind, rest in our body, rest in our hearts, rest in our soul? And also in the process of recovery, help is required. We can't fully recover on our own. We try. There's some things we could do, but we're not meant to stay in the place of isolation if we're going to fully recover. When there's an injury to something, when there's great impact, people have physical therapists to teach them how to walk again, that stretch their muscles, that push them further than they will go on their own. We don't naturally want to inflict pain to ourselves. I can't even I tried to wax my upper lip before. I couldn't pull the strip off because it hurts. Someone else can do it. I can close my eyes and brace myself for the pain, but to look in the mirror and cause pain, I couldn't do it. I said, how do people do that? I can't knowingly inflict pain on my own self, right? So the areas that need recovery, they're often painful. And we can't heal ourselves because we often don't want to inflict pain on ourselves. We don't want to run towards the pain, but actually in order to fully recover, we have to confront the pain. We got to address the sore spots. What are the symptoms? Okay, are you drinking more? Okay, you're spending time on those websites a little bit more. Are you on social media nonstop, just scrolling? Or do you find yourself feeling jealous and comparing? Like, what are those symptoms that something is actually going on under the surface that need to be addressed? What are those symptoms? Are you sleeping more? Are you disinterested in the things that used to bring you joy? What are the symptoms? That maybe God may be inviting you to actually seek help, because we can't recover completely on our own. And the other step of that process is receive. And then the last part of that recovery stage is to release. What is God asking you to release and lay at his feet? There's some tangible things we have to release too in recovery. But what is God asking you to release so that you can fully embrace the recovery that he has in store for you? What is God inviting you to recover from? I want you to take a moment. If you don't know, ask him, God, what are you inviting me to recover from? What are you inviting me to recover from?